Welcome to one of the very first video interviews for the Prog Report. I'm Raven. You guys have heard me before on the podcast if you follow things or maybe watched our different things that we've put on our YouTube channel. But of course, the guy next to me that I'm speaking to today, John Petrucci, needs no real introduction. How you doing, man?
What's going on, Roy? How are
Good
you?
to, I'm doing great. Good to see you on here. I love the album cover in the background. We'll get
Yep,
to
I'm
talking about
floating in
that.
my own virtual space over here.
Yeah, how is the world of Zoom treating you? Were you using Zoom at all before 3 months ago?
No, I was not using Zoom at all. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's become a tool that so many people have used, and there's other ones as well. Like there's a couple of different platforms that I've done interviews and podcasts on. Depends, I guess, on what people are comfortable with or what they have access to. But it works really well.
It does, it does,
Yeah,
and you know, we both have our little backgrounds here, and everybody's learned how to play with those, which makes it a lot of fun. I guess
it does.
you know, we want to talk about the new album, the solo record, and a bunch of other things. But let's mention that first. Terminal Velocity. So out on streaming services, August 28th, and then out on physical, October 30th. Um, so that's sort of not a common approach to releasing things, right? So what
Right.
played into that a little bit for you?
Right. So there was a lot of thought put into that. I mean, I recorded this music between March and May earlier this year. It was done and ready. There's a certain amount of lead time needed to create things like vinyl,
Right.
and to get stuff distributed properly, um, as far as physical product is concerned. So part of the time I spent was setting up a distribution deal with the Orchard Music, which is turning out to be great through my own record label, Sound My Music. That took some time. So, with all that in mind and deadlines and things like that,
Right.
October 30th is kind of the earliest this could have come out as far as physical. But I was thinking, man, I don't really want to wait that long to get my music out. I'm doing this because I love playing guitar. I love writing. It's fun. The album is real positive. I want to share it with people. I don't
Yeah.
really want to wait. So this is a conversation I had with the Orchard and the different methods, and also with you. Full disclosure, you're my publicist here. We've had this conversation, and it could have went either way. It could have waited for the music and put it all out at once, which would have been a more traditional approach and
Right.
campaign. But we talked about this. It's like I wanted to get the music out. I want to share it. I don't want to wait until almost November.
Yeah,
And
it's
so that's
it's
yeah,
really a different world nowadays in terms of
right,
getting music out, right? So,
right,
I mean, some people argue, do you need an album anymore, for instance?
sure,
And there's some genres where maybe that works. I
right,
don't think this one is made for that really. You know,
yeah,
the prog and sort of metal and that kind of thing.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, people, your fans, I think, or at least we discussed, would, you know, they would want to buy the record no matter when it came out, because when you're a fan and a longtime fan of a certain artist, really sometimes of any genre, you want to, it's invested. You've invested years into following this person, and so it's almost like getting to hear it early and then owning it a month later.
right.
That's great, you
Kind
know.
of the
And
best of both worlds.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
fantastic.
was trying to wear that hat, if you will. If I were a fan, and it's like I think that you're right. It has to do with the type of listeners, Dream Theater followers and fans, and my own, and um, you know, people that appreciate this kind of music, prog fans, metal fans. I think um, sort of desire physical versions of music,
Right.
which I love. I love that. I think that's awesome. I think the artwork gets to shine. I think people have something they can hold in their hands and add to their collection. And I totally see why. And I get it. And at the same time, in this digital age, you can get music out a lot quicker. There are so many platforms, whether they're downloads or streaming or whatever, that are all great tools for artists to use to get music out that wasn't there before. So, maybe if this Dream Theater probably wouldn't do things this way.
Right.
We tend to do more traditional everything out at once. But for this guitar instrumental music written now, it's like I wanted it to be out, summertime. As it is, it's like kind of the end of the summer.
Right.
But it's sort of the album feels good to listen to. It's positive. I wanted to get it out to people. So this
No,
this
that's
sounded like the best way to do it.
and it sounds great. And the first single is out. One of the things that I found interesting is um, there seems to be a lot of younger prog metal instrumental bands out these days, trios and things like that that
Mm,
I've seen, and I know you know a lot of the players, and they're doing very well considering this type of music that they do, which
yeah.
is amazing and great. Uh, did you guys ever, when you were starting out back then, because you were introducing such chops and shredding and instrumentality that no one had heard at that time, um, was there ever a thought to doing straight instrumental and just doing that when you were having a hard time finding a singer?
It's funny that you said it probably was something that crossed our minds, especially in the very early days, when me and John Mayung and Mike Portnoy were at Berkeley, and we were auditioning people there and auditioning some singers. And yeah, there were points where we were like, this really could just be instrumental and it would be fine, but I think that, for all of us, we were such big fans of the bands that influenced us, as much as instrumental music was a part of our lives, listening to the Dregs or Al Di Meola or Fusion, stuff like that. We were mostly like drawn into this whole thing and influenced by the big bands that we all related to: Rush, Yes, Iron Maiden, Metallica, whatever. And those are all vocal bands. There's all a
Right.
message there. Pink Floyd. There's something that a story that you could tell in that sense. And so we realized that, like, we don't want to just, and when I say just, I'm not saying anything against it, but we don't
Sure.
want to just be an instrumental band. We want this to be something more than that. And so the cool thing is, looking back at that decision, not that there was some sort of crossroads where we said, all right, are we doing one or the other? It was just kind of happened and we had discussions. But looking back, I kind of get to do a bit of both,
Really?
you
Yeah.
know.
Really.
Right. So being a band with a vocalist, and do that a whole side of my career and develop that, and then also release instrumental music. So it's I'm lucky to be able to do both in that sense.
Yeah. No, that's great. It has worked out. I mean, and certainly there's no shortage of playing that you get to do on the Dream Theater records. But
That's right. Yeah.
speaking of Terminal Velocity, so 15 years since suspended animation.
Right.
I imagine this is the first question you've been asked by everybody. What took so long, but obviously you were doing Dream Theater and touring and
Right.
that whole cycle. Were there other periods where you started down the road and there were false starts and you maybe got two
Mm.
songs into an album and then a tour happened and that kind of thing?
Right. Well, that's actually how I did suspended animation. That was kind of done piecemeal like that. I didn't really enjoy that process because it's like I'd like to put my head down and get the work done,
Right.
all at once. So spending a couple of days at the studio and then driving home and having to get ready for a tour. In fact, I remember recording the tracks for suspended animation, and in between, while the engineer was doing something, I'd be like practicing, learning like the songs for the Dream Theater tour that I was leaving for the following week. Um, so, you know, for an example, Terminal Velocity took me about 3 months from beginning to end. Having that chunk of time like that is a rarity.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I planned on starting it this year. Obviously, the pandemic and the situation in the world, it allotted me more time than I thought, and I was able to get it all done. But you know, most touring musicians don't get those kind of chunks of time, and I didn't have any false starts with this, as you said, um, and I didn't want to do it piecemeal the way that I did Suspended. So, I don't know if I was just waiting for the perfect moment to do it that never came until now.
Right.
Be careful what you wish for, I guess. but it just it worked out. So I'm glad I finally got it done.
You were supposed to be on tour, I guess, still during
Yeah,
this
so
time.
we yeah, a little bit. We didn't have a ton of touring left. We had done a majority of the touring in support of Distance Over Time and celebrating Scenes from a Memory. But we did, unfortunately, our friends in Asia, in that part of the world, Australia, Japan, South Korea, etc., Southeast Asia, never got to see this tour because it was supposed to happen in the spring in April, May.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, so we were supposed to be on tour, but even with that in mind, I had enough time in between to probably get this done. But I'm glad. I'm not glad for anything that has happened in the world as far as the pandemic,
sure.
not at all. But I'm glad that I used the time productively to get this done because I think that that was important for me
Yeah, I mean,
to
there's a
do.
lot
And
of artists that have been really busy and
mhm,
thrown themselves back into recording, writing. I'm
yeah,
sure there'll be a ton of new albums coming out through next
absolutely,
year from
total
people. And
renaissance.
I mean, your other, assuming you have, a ton of musician friends and people that maybe you're touching base with,
Yeah.
um, are you, the majority of them happy for the break? Are you happy for the break? Are you itching to get back if it was tomorrow to go right back on tour?
Right.
What are people in the music community saying as far as that?
Well, most musicians, to an extent, especially heavy touring musicians, it to some degree welcome, the idea that there's an extended break that none of us have really had for a really long time. Um, that probably would be an easier pill to swallow, knowing that you know it was it was done on purpose, and you knew when you were going to
Yeah,
continue. But having an extended break, not knowing when it's going to end or what it's going to look like when it starts back up, that's unsettling. And a lot of musicians, friends of mine, we've spoke of that. So as welcome as it is in some sense to like have finally some time home. I mean, all of us were away from our families. We don't get to spend summers. And I'm not complaining. I don't want it to sound like I'm whining, but just the part of traveling that much is that you
right.
don't
It's part of the gig.
spend the
Yeah,
time. Yeah. So, being able to spend family time and do things together in that sense has been great. But I mean, even that, if you think about it, that isn't even normal because so many family members we weren't able to get together with and see, and events were canceled, graduations, birthdays, the normal things that you would do and that would be big family moments just didn't happen or happened via Zoom or whatever. So yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird. We're going, if we start to go down that rabbit hole, it gets weird. But
yeah.
again, I think for most, whether you're tired of this or happy for the time off or itching to get back on the road, I think most musicians that I talk to have been very active.
Right.
And, you know, it's just part of the nature of being a creative person. It's like you like to write and
I mean,
create,
it's great to have that
perform.
outlet,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
Yeah,
you know, otherwise, how would you be filling your days? I guess
right.
would be the
Exactly.
question.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I guess the big news with the new album, obviously, is Mike Portnoy playing drums on it, and you secretly kind of dropped those nuggets over the internet leading up
Hmm.
to everything and surprised everybody. Um, in the last few years, you guys have maintained sort of a connection, and you've teased little pictures of being together
Sure.
on New Year's Eve or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I always thought they know they're taking this picture and they know they're breaking the internet when they post this, right? Like, was there sort of like, let's have some fun with the fans, let's post this, or was it not thought of at all like that? Just having a little fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those results are byproducts of photos like that. Um, because thankfully we do have so many people in the world that care and that pay attention and that are happy about, moments like that, about us being together. And I totally see why and relate to that. But they stem from very innocent, we're hanging out, let's snap a picture. It's kind of that
Right.
it's the moment of, should we share this necessarily? Should it go on
Well,
social media?
how
That's
much
like,
thought is it? Is it like an
like,
hour of debate?
yeah, and
What
it's
might
kind of,
happen? You know.
I mean, not really so much, but it's kind of like, I know Mike's attitude is like, you know what, this is cool. It's fun. It's like, let's share a happy moment,
Yeah, sure.
and I like that. And it's like, you know, you could take those moments and decide you don't want to do that. You don't want to go there, but at the end of the day, it's like, they're happy moments, and the reaction from people, including Mike playing on this record, it has all been really positive and really cool to see. And for me, listen, Mike and I grew up together. I met him at Berkeley. We were teenagers. We were 18. We're in a band together 25 years. Our families have been friends forever. Our wives were in the same band together. All our kids grew up together, and our friends. There's a relationship there that doesn't just end.
Right.
And to be able to, like, play music with my friend again after 10 years of not doing that is really cool for the both of us.
Yeah.
And I selfishly get to live in this kind of duality where, my solo music, I get to have Mike Portnoy play drums, and in Dream Theater I get to have Mike Mangini play drums, and it's like, I have two of the most incredible drummers on the
For
planet I get to
sure.
play with. Yeah, so I'm not losing out over here.
And then, uh,
It's fun. It's really nice for me.
there was something great, and I've had a chance to hear the record, and there is something cool about hearing the two of you together again playing,
Hmm.
and it sounds. And here's the crazy thing: I know it wasn't recorded live together,
Right,
but it totally sounds like it, and it sounds like you're in the same room, and
right.
it has that kind of vibe, and it sounds like Portnoy Petrucci kind of thing. I don't know. It's just maybe it's putting my own things as being a longtime fan, but I really feel like it's a genuine sound that comes across from listening to the record.
Sure. I've heard that comment a lot. I think that's awesome. It's pretty miraculous how that is the case, because I wrote the music and recorded it all, as far as the guitar tracks, programmed drums, played bass, me and Jimmy T, my engineer, and the songs were done, completed. So, Mike and Dave received that music and basically had to ingest it and learn it. But it might have sounded completely different if it was another drummer who maybe took that interpretive drum programming and played it exact and tried to,
Right.
you know, please me in that sense, and to, just almost play like a drum machine. But for Mike, that's not his style,
Right.
and he point blank asked me, "Do you want me to play exactly what you programmed?" I'm like, "No, like, do your thing, and if there's anything that's musically needs to be there, I'll let you know." At which there were a few moments like that, but I think because of that, and because of the way that he plays drums, he's very instinctual. He's very intuitive. um, he and having made music together for all those years, he kind of knows, how to approach those guitar moments
Yeah.
and parts. And the result is that it sounds like we're playing together. There's this familiarity that we feel as musicians and as friends, and that people pick up on. um, you know that it just happens organically. It's part of the way that Mike plays. It's sort of the spirit that he infused into it. And it's also worth mentioning that Dave LaRue did the same thing. Mike actually came up to my studio and tracked drums, and we were able to be together. um, while he was doing that, Dave recorded remotely, but he as well lifted these songs to the next level. He's tracking to pre-recorded guitar parts.
Hmm.
There's some bass reference there, and still he made it his own. He made, took it to the next level, and that's a testament to what great musicians they both are.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Dave is
yeah,
just one of the best bass players in the world, and
yeah, Dave is so
just
phenomenal, and
incredible.
I have so much experience with him because of G3 and my
Right.
camps. I've done a lot of touring with Dave, a lot of playing, and in a lot of ways, there is that instinctual relationship there too, or he's played with me a lot,
Hmm.
we've done a lot of live shows together, and he knows the way I play and how to fill things out and everything. So yeah, those guys just did a phenomenal job.
You know, it's one of
Really,
the
really.
things that I always liked about Mike's playing, um, uh, with Dream Theater, with with other things that he does, and on this record as well, is that
Hmm.
he's expected to do crazy double bass or crazy runs or whatever it is. But I
Right.
like a lot of times when in between all of that, he just does a straight 4/4 groove,
Yeah.
and I think he does that as good as anybody, and it just
Right.
sounds really natural, and it's
Right.
very cool.
It's right in the pocket. Those moments are so important.
Yeah,
That's most of the moments on in any given music. And you're right. And there, when people get to listen to this, and I've said this before, but it's guitar instrumental music, so I'm exploring different styles and feels, and it's not just like, any metal drummer can come in and do this and just has to do double bass and you play wicked fills. Like,
right.
there's feels in there.
Yeah,
There's pop feels, there's Latin, there's shuffle, there's blues, and Mike nailed all that stuff. It's a testament again to his talent as a drummer and how he interprets that. But I agree with you, it's those tasty moments during grooves, whether it be like hi-hat work or cymbal splashes and things like that,
yeah.
that are all little ear candy moments, or when those grooves are right in the pocket, like you said, that really helped to drive the music. You're absolutely right.
There's a couple of I mean the whole album's amazing, but a couple of standout tracks that I really like. The Odd Father, which is great. And
Cool.
that's a new one that I get you haven't played on the G3 tours, right? That's not one of
No,
those,
yeah,
which
that's a
is
new one
just
that I wrote.
amazing. Happy Song. I guess that one you did play
That
on.
one, so the two that I played previously that people will be familiar with, who either came to see G3 along the years or came to my Guitar Universe camp. The two songs are Happy Song and Glassy Eyed Zombies. I played
Yeah.
those live. I never recorded them officially. I only had demos and only played them live. So these are the first official recordings. But yeah, people might have heard those two
How do
before.
you come up with instrumental titles for songs? Where does the
Well,
inspiration from?
yeah, I start to collect them. I collect them as soon as I hear them. Like if I hear a phrase, or a word, and I'm like, that would be a great instrumental.
Okay.
I'll put it right in my phone, and so I have a list. A lot of musicians do that. Some of them happen on the spot. Uh, some they come from all different places. Gemini was named from my wife's father, named by my wife's father. He's no longer with us, but a long time ago, mid '90s when I had that song written, I played it for him, and he said that should be called Gemini, and so that came from there.
That's great.
A song like Temple of Circadia, I don't know, I came up with that one day, and I just put it in my hat. And when I wrote that song, I'm like, that song should be Temple of Circadia. And some of the song titles with instrumental music are silly and tongue in cheek. And I mean, Glassy Eyed Zombies,
We have a
Happy
lot of
Song.
freedom when you're doing
You
instrumental
have a lot of
titles, right? It
freedom.
doesn't
Yeah,
need. There's no lyric you
right.
have to tie it to, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be that serious about it,
Yeah.
unless you want to. I mean, The Odd Father is a total play on words, given the whole Italian theme there.
Right.
Um, yeah, it was originally called the Chin, and the Chin was actually a New York mobster that, and they also called him the Odd Father, and so I thought that was
Oh,
great.
okay.
And you know, I don't know if I should say this on this, and we can ask her, but it was like somehow through the ancestry and everything, my wife found out that she might be related to this guy. That's how it all stemmed. And I was like, oh, the Chin, that's cool. And it's like, all right, and one day, I don't know, I was in the studio. Actually, it was when Mike was tracking drums, and I just did like a wiki on him, and I was explaining like where, and all of a sudden it said also known as the Odd Father, and like Jimmy T and Mike were like, that's so much better. That's like the name,
That's cool.
because it gives the whole feeling of that song is like this kind of Italian theme, Godfathery thing. Starts out with a sound that's almost like supposed to be like the mandolin type of thing.
Right.
And so Oddfather was the perfect play on words there.
Um, well, I want to talk about also the production for a minute because the sound on this record is amazing and
Thank
it's
you.
really clean, really powerful up front.
Mm.
Talk about the production a little bit and how much goes into getting all the sounds. Or are you so zoned in on what sounds you need at this point in your career that it's sort of you can nail it kind of quickly?
Right. Well, I mean, I credit the sound of this record first to Jimmy T, who engineered and recorded everything, and also to Andy Sneap, who mixed it. And Jimmy T, we met a while back in our Dream Theater camp, and he has kind of risen up in the ranks and actually engineered Distance Over Time and did a fantastic job with
Yeah,
that.
that album sounds
And
amazing. Yeah.
yeah. So he engineered it. He, we have a relationship where we've experimented with different microphones and preamps and stuff like that, largely due to the Distance Over Time sessions. And, so he knew where to go right away with capturing the guitar sound. And because of that, it really wasn't that hard as far as the
Right.
guitar sound. It's kind of like I've developed this signature gear that I'm so fortunate to have. My signature Ernie Ball Music Man guitar is my signature Boogie amp. And when I plug into that and play through that, that's my sound. So it's up to the engineer to capture that. And again, because of the relationship and experience we've had, he was able to do that. Even, capturing the drum sounds. I mean, that the actual, it's funny. It's like, it's actually my drum kit that Mike played on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he brought in some other pieces and that he wanted to add to it. Um, and Jimmy T mic'd it up. Mike started playing. It sounded like Mike, and he captured a great sound. And then from there, this was my first time working with Andy Sneap. Been a big fan of his production style, and he's in the UK, so this was like remote, where I sent him the music, and we communicated through FaceTime and texting and
Yeah, you can do
trading
it. I mean, it
files.
doesn't matter
Yeah,
anymore. It's wild.
right. And he did a phenomenal job, just like taking, this music that was recorded extremely well by Jimmy T and bringing it to the level that you hear when you listen to it. And he also mastered the album. This was the first time I've worked with a mix engineer who's also the mastering engineer. And that was really cool because, we could do things where if there was something in the mix that he wasn't getting out of the mastering stage, he could go back to the mix, make some adjustments, and then, remaster. So that was really helpful. And again, kudos to Andy, did a phenomenal job. Sounds awesome.
Is it hard for you being thought of as like a guitar icon and have so many fans all over the world that hold you so high up there, um, to feel pressure to play the next craziest thing or to play something faster or
Right.
how do you block all that influence out and just stick to what you want to do?
Gotcha. Um, well, I mean, first of all, that's really, you know, I'm humbled by that. Again, I've said this a lot. I love playing guitar. I consider myself a student of guitar, and there are so many incredible players out there. They're getting younger and younger. So, that the world of electric guitar has just exploded. It's, what people are doing is like insane.
Yeah.
So, it's not, if anything, that becomes inspiring. It's not like a competitive thing, but it's an inspirational thing. And if there's any pressure put on me, maybe this sounds cliche, but I think I put it on myself. And the reason is because I'm always trying to, um, go somewhere where I haven't before with either the music or the sound or the production or the songwriting or, you know, the licks and everything. It's
Right.
like I want to keep myself interested. I don't want to get lazy and just play the same lick and solo I did before. You know, I put that pressure on myself because I don't know, it makes the process more interesting. It makes guitar playing more fun to like constantly have challenges. Um, and I put that pressure on myself. Now, having said that, certainly watching uh, all these players out there doing amazing stuff, definitely keeps you on your game and on your toes for sure. I mean, the last thing I want to do is release a record and be like,
Right.
he got
Yeah.
lazy. Like it's not true. It's like I'm always gonna try like 120%. Like
Well,
that's
now you
just my
see all these.
personality.
I mean, the day after the video
Yeah,
for Terminal Velocity came out, there were people on YouTube that had already learned it and tried to put
yeah,
out videos of them doing it, which is crazy.
yeah. It was actually within a couple of hours, which is even more crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's funny. It's like doesn't matter. You think to yourself. Everybody has their own thresholds, and you might think to yourself like, "This is the most wicked thing I've ever come up with," and then literally 2 hours later, somebody is playing it, and is smiling, and so it's you can't think that way. It's fun. It's fun to be in part of the guitar community, in touch with it, know what's going on, inspired and wowed by the talent that's out there. But I think it has to come from a genuine
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Who are some of the up and comers, or maybe recent, next generation guys, I guess, that you follow or that you're aware of, or that you or keep an eye on while you're out playing?
Well, all you have to do is look at the lineup of my Guitar Universe camp, and some of the guys are established for sure, but I mean, look at the collection of talent on there, and you'll see the names. It's doing an event like that, and even the ones I've done in the past, with those players, it's amazing. I mean, it's like the level of talent is just like off the hook. It's so cool jamming together, watching guys play and perform, asking questions, trading stories, seeing them teach. It's amazing. So I highly recommend people, they can go through John Petrucci's GuitarUniverse.com or through my website johnpetrucci.com. I sound so like you know
No, hey, people got to
I'm
find stuff somewhere. Was
like
there
and
going to be
subscribe
one this
here.
year?
No, you
Was there going to be one
oh,
this year and it had to be postponed?
yeah, yeah, there was supposed to be one this year, and due to the pandemic, this was a difficult decision to make back when we did, but it was the right decision to make,
Yeah,
was to,
sure.
yeah, to postpone. So it's going to happen next year. It's in Irvine, California, and all of the instructors who were scheduled to be on it, thankfully, said that they would, you know, adjust their schedules to make sure that they were there for the rescheduled version. So that's
I
going
want
to
to
be
ask
fun.
you a little bit about what's it like being in this for so long and
Mhm.
maintaining longevity. We spoke about that a little bit before, about how you putting out this record, and you've been now doing this for a few decades now and
Mhm.
maintain a really high level of success, and yet you're still doing interviews and putting out stuff, and every guitar magazine thing that they want to do something, you do it. um, at what point is it a job or fun, or to balance that, I think.
Right. Well, I mean, part of it is a job. It's a career um, driven mindset. Where you sort of look at the big picture of what you're doing, what you're trying to do. Yes, it's fun. I mean, I get to play guitar for a living. Not everybody can has that luxury to do the art that they feel like they were destined to do, to make that into a career. I'm really fortunate to be able to do that. To be successful at anything, you have to put that kind of work in. You know, it's part of it. So the best thing is to have a good attitude about it. Try to take advantage of the tools that are developed and um, at your fingertips, to try to make this as successful as you can. And that's
Yeah.
always been my mentality. And while you're doing it, to do it in such a way where you keep the quality level up to something that you can always be proud of. you know and I like am fans of, um, you know, people that have done amazing things, uh, that are groundbreaking. You know, whether it was Walt Disney or whether it's Elon Musk or whether it's Steve Jobs or, it's like I like that mentality of, and I am in no way associating myself at any level, but I look up to what they, that mentality, which is this driving creative, passion to like keep pushing and to try to do things better and better, and keep that level up and never like let that fall to the wayside. I
When
love that. That's really inspiring.
when you were starting out playing, right? Everybody starts out playing in their bedroom or in their garage with some friends and that kind of thing. And at that point, when you're younger, I guess it's just I got a good guitar, I got an amp,
Mm,
that's it. I'm
right.
I'm out. I'm a guitar player. But at some
Yeah.
point, all the gear and all the maintenance and then the rehearsing and then getting down to the right string and the right guitar pick, all the minutia that's
Hmm.
develops along the way. At what point do you become professional and that
Right.
stuff starts to become really important on a daily basis, almost as much as just the playing side? You know what I mean? Like there's sort of
Yeah.
a next level you have to cross over to be
Right.
have a consistent sound and have a this, and you start developing that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you're first starting out, there is a lot of experimentation with different gear and different ways of doing things, and you learn by experience, and you make mistakes, and you figure out what you like and what you don't like, and what you shouldn't do, and you know, tape your cables down when you're on stage because you can easily step on them and they'll come out, whatever they are. Um, and for me, as well, I was always into, and some people are into that more than others, but I was always into the gear side, like, and how, um, your physicality is, uh, is influenced by what you like, as far as an instrument, and how guitar players are so sensitive to that, about how a guitar feels and the action and the neck size and
Right.
what the body is made of and how heavy the instrument is. And then, also that turns into like a tone thing. And my whole thing is about having a tone mission, which is my company name,
Right.
and about your journey that you go on, and that's more of like a sound thing. So it's like what kind of amplifier you enjoy playing through, or now fast forward, what kind of plugins or modeling, whatever it is. um, and so it's like, again, some people are more into that than others. I've always been super super into that. So I that's another side of my career that I developed, like working with the companies that make this incredible gear, whether and I've used forever and have been around forever, whether that be Dunlop, DiMarzio, or Ball Music and Boogie, TC Electronic. I mean, and getting to work with them and work with the brilliant engineers and their art teams and their innovators to, you know, figure out whatever I'm hearing in my head or whatever I want to feel, turn that into a piece of musical gear that not only helps me achieve my tone mission, but that can help other people out there as well. Um, and that, to kind of answer your question, it's a roundabout way. It's like something that happens over time. I'm not. It's something I was always into,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know where it crossed, into where
Just
it
sort of
became
becomes
like
part of
part of my
your
professional
routine.
career.
Yeah. Just
Yeah, I get, like, in the beginning, it's just things you're trying, and you latch on to something because it could be a guitar pick, and
right.
that's the thing you like. But where does it cross into, okay, I get to work with the company that makes that guitar pick to just make it a little bit different for my needs.
Yeah.
It happened over time. It happened as a result of, thankfully, of success and experience. um, but yeah, it definitely was a gradual thing.
So the first time we had you on, actually it wasn't the first time, but it was for Distance Over Time
Yeah.
with you and Jordan. I had you guys on for one of our top 5 episodes where I had you guys pick your top 5 Prog instrumentals, and it was over about an hour and a half, and that was
Right.
fantastic. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put you through that whole thing this time, and because I just
Right.
wanted to speak to you about the record, but I did give you a task to think about your top 5 Dream Theater guitar solos. So I
Mm,
wanted to see if you had any in mind that we could mention.
right. Um, you know, it's we put out a lot of music. There's a lot of solos, and I'm proud of many of them. I enjoy playing them live. And the ones that I might mention might be kind of typical, but they sort of stand out to me. One of them is Under a Glass Moon,
For the
from
longest
Images and
time,
Words.
I
Yeah,
saw that one highlighted in guitar
yeah,
magazines. It was, yeah,
right.
and it's an amazing one. But I always found
Yeah,
it like how, because at the time you guys weren't Dream Theater yet,
right,
and I always thought, wow, it's great that they found this guitar and that it's getting it some attention.
right, right. I just kind of remember there was something about that solo, and that some of my soloing approaches are more improvised, and that was a very like constructed type of solo. And I don't know, it came out really interesting at the time. I was going to all these different places in that one solo, and just like sometimes that happens, and you turn around, you listen to it, you're like, that's not that
Well,
good.
that
And
was the
sometimes
first
you're like,
time I had heard
yeah,
the sort of whammy bar
right, right,
thing, that growling sound that it
yeah,
produces or whatever. I'd
right.
never heard that before.
Oh, that's funny. I remember I picked that up from watching when Brad Gillis was playing with Ozzy, and he was doing that sound,
Oh,
or was
really?
he
I
doing
didn't know he
that in
did
Night
that.
Ranger?
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I just put all these things together, and when I listened back, I was like, that's kind of cool. Like it just was like this interesting thing to me, and it turned out to be fun to play live and everything else.
Yeah. Any other ones that you remember?
Um, Another one. Uh, let's see. There's a solo in the Best of Times, that just, it's a song that Mike Portnoy had written the lyrics about his father passing away, and the story behind that. It was all fresh and new, so it was a very emotional time, and it was just, I don't know. When I listen back to that solo, there's something about it that's special. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I would have mentioned
yeah,
that one too, actually.
yeah. So that's a favorite. It's not a song that we played live, but it's a moment that I'm proud of for sure.
That's awesome. All right, well, I'll let you get off the hook with those two because I think that's
All right, all
that's pretty
right.
good. Listen, let's recap. Terminal Velocity comes out October 28th on streaming. You can pre-order it now. Go to johnpetrucci.com for all the info and get your physical CD or vinyl for October 30th. And I guess Dream Theater will be heading into the studio soon to work on a new record, right? That's
We
what's next.
will, we will. That wasn't the plan initially, but like most bands, everybody's trying to figure out how to adapt and pivot to what's going on, and the future of touring is definitely uncertain as to when that will pick up and resemble what we're all used to. And it's it could be a year from now, it could be longer, it could be shorter. Certain countries are starting to do things
Right.
with social distance concerts and drive-in concerts, but you know with all of that in mind, we decided best thing for us to do, you know is not sit around and wait, but to make music. So we're going to make new music. We're going to go in the fall and start working on a new record. I'm sure it will not be out, you know until considerably into 2021,
Yeah, right.
but we'll start work on it in the fall for sure.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, well, thanks, man. It was a pleasure
All
to talk
right.
to you. And
Always. That was fun.
yeah, good luck on the record. I'm sure it's going to be great. Once everybody gets it, they'll love it.
Cool. I hope so. Looking forward to getting that music out, like the plan called for.
Yep. All right, buddy.
Cool.
We'll talk to you
All right,
later.
man. Bye.
Bye.